Okay, now I'm back. And yeah, just here's an example of another program that I did, which is similar to ours. And I think Wei is somewhere in this photo, which is where we met at the eTextile spring break. And yeah, these are just more images. I could talk forever about this, but just examples of how textiles are being used today in so many different contexts. Everything from sportswear to clothing to interior design to cleaning products even. So just before I go on, that's a lot of information. I just to recap, wanted to just say again that all of these things that we're talking about are just big inspirations for me. And I think we could talk for hours about every single image that I've shared so far. Just the bigger picture is we now live in this world where something like the internet, we're literally living that right now with this program that we're doing. The internet can be a location, just like any of these other locations have always been for us, a place to collaborate. And it's something that we've been working up to for a long time. We just happen to be living in it in this strange moment right now. I'm really interested in my work about how borders can be both physical and political, but how we can just as easily override them and pass them over. So another project that I'm working on right now is called Woman Interwoven. It's a documentary series. It's going to tell the stories of different women around the world who are using textiles in curious and unexpected ways. I had a lot more momentum on it before COVID started, but I'm collaborating with women all around the world, and each episode will sort of meet that woman where she is and tell the story of the textile that she's working on. So we'll meet everyone, including a farmer or a fashion designer, which might be more predictable examples, but then we'll also meet someone working in a biolab, making textiles that can be used as organ replacements, for example, or maybe we'll meet someone doing architecture with textiles. So the documentary series will be a collection of stories. And part of the reason why I want to focus on women here is that they have often been major contributors to textiles and textile history, but haven't been given as much attention. Men have played huge roles in textiles as well, but women in particular have been sort of behind the scenes, especially in these kind of bigger technical examples like the jacquard loom, which again, we could talk more about. There were a lot of women behind that. And the first person credited as a coder was a woman, but we rarely know about that story. Whew, okay, that's so much information. Anyway, that's just a quick overview of some stuff that I'm inspired by and that I'm working on. This is my website and my Instagram if you're curious, but we can also, this is still the beginning of our having friends in the future. So you guys can find me on Slack too. And I would love to talk more about any of these topics if they inspire you as well. So I guess I'll stop sharing my screen so I can share my face. And if anybody wants to share a question or just have a dialogue, we can do that.
Cool. Thank you so much. It's a good talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you guys can continue the discussion. I have to go, unfortunately. So have fun, guys.
Thanks, Wei.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So if anybody has a question or just something they want to talk about, feel free to just start talking.
Awareness, your work is very complete with fibers, techniques, and I am interested with traditional techniques with a handmade new touch. Do you make it now these works, or are you making now this work handmade new touch for handmade textile technologies?
Yeah, I'm still very much a maker, and I love making stuff with my hands. So the pieces that I'm working on that are introducing technology at this point, I'm still making them by hand. I think in the future, I would embrace the opportunity to work with a manufacturer or a fabricator. But for now, I like making them. As an artistic practice that feels really important to the work. It's an opportunity for that object to remind anyone who interacts with it that these things are made by hand. And if we hire a manufacturer or a fabricator, it's often their hands that are making it. I think it brings up this question of whose hands do we value? And when we call something handmade, are we talking about everything that was made by hand or just by certain hands? I hope that answers your question, if I understood you correctly.
Okay, I am from Chile. I work more research, more that work, but here it's a place with a very potential in artisan touch, but the new technologies are very slow here. Very interesting your work for write in my publications, because I have an online research platform and a public annually the magazines about wearables and artisan technologies. I will write to you one
Please.
email for more
on this. Yeah, please. I'll share my email, but you can also find me on the Slack that we have for having friends in the future.
Okay.
But I'll put my email in the chat here too. Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Sam.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's a very, very nice, compelling story. I really love the angle you approach it and the meaning that you take and feed with it. My question would go for the future of weaving and for the future of that, because as a known phenomena that Internet of Things and the exponential technologies, modern robotics, I am aware that I work with that, and I'm aware that it's also entering this world, the textiles world. And as soon as more as you will have like the Internet of Things, the robotics, machines doing everything, like how do you see a future for textiles, and how do you think we can still maintain some of this meaning inside? Because I see that these vulnerable places that mostly produce our textiles, that we have a lot of criticism about, like how the capitalist system feeds these inequalities. But at the same time, we are looking at a paradigm where these places, they might be left with nothing at all, since we move the production back to our rich countries in 190% automated factory lines. So how do you think that we can still maintain some sort of meaning on what this whole thousands of years has been into something that still like does not lose and become like a plastic making machine of some sort?
Yeah, I think you're raising a really important question. I definitely don't know the answer to it just yet, but I'll share with you just my reactions. Besides the fact that, yeah, again, I think that's a really important question. My impression is that there are many people who are curious and want to be connected to the history of the things they consume. There are probably more people who don't realize that they want that because maybe they've never had the chance to be part of the conversation. So in my opinion, one of the first things that we should do is open up that dialogue and make it more accessible to people. I work in textiles, so it's my whole life, but every once in a while I'll encounter somebody who doesn't really know anything in an official way, besides the fact that they wear clothes every day, so they have that intimate connection. And I explain just some very simple facts about the history and the material, and if they're surprised, they're usually also very curious to learn more. So I think if we can provide more education where people can understand better, then they might support the processes and manufacturers that support the traditional techniques. that being said, those things are often much more expensive nowadays, and the things that are made on the production line by the plastic fabric machines can be a lot more accessible, and most people on the planet don't have the choice to select the thing that was handmade when they can pay less money for the thing that was machine made. So I think we also have to hold our manufacturing companies accountable to pay people in wages where there's so much unethical labor around textiles. Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm following exactly one thread in my answer, but I think my main response is that it's really essential work, and the window is maybe closing before we can do that. My hope is that a group like ours with this residency can help propel that, and making new objects that are shared with people with their materials in mind might help that. But I'd also love to, maybe other people in the group have something to say. We can keep talking about it too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Victoria. Actually, I have a question about your food performance project. That I'm curious about, because when you're selecting, because now under the pandemic situation, that everyone is caring about more about how to live in a well-being, and to focus more on their a daily life, and the food. People start to care about the food and their mental health. And I'm just curious about when you're designing this program, how do you design, for example, select the ingredients, or how do you design and contextualize the ingredient and the recipe with for example, the concept and the history that you would like to present?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So that project is called Mordant, and when I was originally starting it and brainstorming it, I was using materials that I had available to me in New York, or in my studio more specifically. But as I've started to collaborate with other people, for example, I worked with this chef in South Africa. She used recipes and ingredients that were relevant to her story and her culture. So I usually let those kinds of things inspire it. We also did it in Romania, and we were in Transylvania, which is a region in Romania, and we worked with a woman who lives in a town of 20 people, maybe 25 people, and it very, very small, very kind of isolated community. And we used recipes that had been in her family for 3-4 generations. And it was just a really cool way to inform the experience, because it was a part of that particular place. So we do have certain restrictions, like the ingredients need to be prepared in a way that they can leave a mark on the cloth. But that's part of the performance. And after the dinner is over, I treat the material and wash it, and many of the colors come out or they change. So I just have a box of all these cloths in my studio. The project is really more about the experience of being there. And during the dinner, we talk about the relationship between dinner rituals, dinner tablecloths, and colors.
Thank you. It's very interesting.
Maybe we can do one in Taiwan one day. Would be fun.
Yes, I hope so.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, I know that it's a lot of information. We can certainly talk more. I'm really excited to be here and be part of this group with everybody. So I can hang out on the Jitsi for some more minutes if anyone wants to stick around to chat more. Otherwise, we can keep talking about it on the Slack channel, the workshop channel. Is that okay? Does that work for everybody?
Can I ask a question, Victoria?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, I cannot open my video now, but I'm very interested on the way that you are combining different culture and different geographic location and different group of people together with the source textile. And in your work, how do you define or analyze which method you are going to use in this in the fabric itself to represent different kind of thinking, or to represent the way how you understand different group of or culture? Is this a question? No, not very clear question, right?
No, I like your question. I think you're asking about how do I make choices between the colors and the materials that I work with and the places and people that I'm working with. I think I'm working, like, each day as I continue in my practice as an artist, I'm working towards being more intentional about that. A lot of times I'm stuck with the materials that I already have. But it's why I like collaborating so much. I just finished a collaboration, a short-term collaboration with a woman in another place. I've actually never met her in real life. And it was just part of this COVID thing where we were sending materials back and forth and making stuff together. And that felt like a step in the direction that I'm trying to go in terms of making connections between the people and the stories that I'm telling and the materials I'm using. I'm located in New York, so that means that I can source materials locally, but I have Amazon and the internet, so I can source materials from all around the world. So I have a lot of options, but I definitely want to think more about that. So I appreciate your question.
Thank you. I really like your work. It's really interesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I really like the food stuff also, but I'm less like in like doing the textile and the weaving usually. You know, I'm doing only the electronics and system. You know, so it's really nice to see all
Thank
the
you.
projects. Anyway, I send some link of some project we made like for the design biennale.
Oh, thank you.
It's like involved with the stuff you do a little bit, you know. I've been a part of it, and it's really nice, and you can see all the process of the work and stuff.
Thank you.
And
I'm totally gonna watch that afterwards.
Yeah, let's do the chit chat on the Slack.
Yeah. So the Computer 1.0 project was the first time that I had worked with electronics in a like really focused way. I had done some basic messing around with e-textiles, but when I had that vision for that project, I did not have all the skills that I needed, which was why I collaborated with someone, and together we were able to make something that was new and fresh, and I think even better because it came from both of us. And he has the electronics background and I have the textiles background. And together we were able to form something that feels like it's both electronic and textile in a way. So yeah, I think that's the magic of collaboration. And in working with Julian and on our project Soft Monitor, I've become a lot more familiar with electronics. So I get to learn also. Like being a collaborator is also being a student.
Yeah, it's always like very complicated at the start, you know, but after you do some projects, you're, you know, it's getting much more easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I made also all kind of pneumatic projects, also a lot with students, you know, and fashion students or stuff like that. I will show you later on. There's some really cool stuff, but it was a really great talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
We'll continue later, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll see everybody on Slack for sure. And I'm gonna watch that video so hard that you just shared too when we're done.
Nice. So, thank you and bye for now.
Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I have to leave in as the last person so that I
you have
can
to
finish the live stream.
Okay.
So see you. Thank you so much.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.